Perek Daled, Mishnah Tes. Achas l'shloshim yoim, once in 30 days, mesharin es halishka. They would fix the price between the treasury and those sellers, the shopkeepers, for the lishka, for the chamber, the price that they could buy the goods that they needed. Explains the Batanura, poiskin shalienos shmonim uslosos. They would fix the price for those items. Sheyamud zeh hashar shloshim yom. That price should be fixed for 30 days, so that the treasurer could buy with a chatzi shkalim those items for the communal offerings, menochos, nesachim, wine libations, and the meal offerings. It was fixed, but continues the Batanura, if the price during those 30 days went up, in other words, that the items became more expensive, the treasury could still buy those items at that lower price. If, however, the price became cheaper, the chenvani, the shopkeeper, would have to sell at the cheaper price, in which case the lishka, the treasury for the Beis HaMikdash will always gain. Continues the Mishnah. Kol ha'makabel olav l'sapik solosos me'arba. Explains about Tanura. If, for example, during the harvest time, katsir chitim, or the time that they were the harvesting of the grapes or the olives, it may well be that the treasurer might arrange and pay the chenvani, the shopkeeper, a price so that he could supply these items for the whole year. Says the Mishnah, if the chenvani, the shopkeeper, accepted upon himself to supply, for example, slossos, flour, me'arba, at 4. What does it mean at 4? Says the Batanura, for one seller, he could buy 4 so'in, 4 se'in, that's a volume of flour. And then what happened? Omdu misholosh, the price became more expensive. So that for one seller, one could only receive 3 se'in of flour. Nevertheless, yisapek me'arba, the shopkeeper must supply at that cheaper price 4 so'in for one seller. The other way around, misholosh, if the shopkeeper had accepted and agreed the price of 3 so'in for one seller, v'omdu me'arba, and then the price actually dropped, and for one seller one could receive 4 so'in. Although the price was agreed at 3 for one seller, yisapek me'arba, the chenvani must supply at the cheaper price, which is that one seller will give 4 so'in of flour in this example. Says the Mishnah, Sheyad hekdesh alhu elyoina. Quite literally, the hand of hekdesh was higher. In other words, hekdesh had the upper hand, and therefore they would always gain in any price change. V'im hisliya, what happened if the flour became wormy, and wormy flour not kosher for the menachos? Im hisliya soiles, if the flour became wormy, hisliya loy, it became wormy for the seller, for the person providing the item, even though money may have changed hands, and the item may have moved across to the upkeep of the hekdesh, the treasurer. Nevertheless, if it became wormy, it could be returned, and the seller would have to provide again the solis, the flour. If the wine became sour, and sour wine would not be kosher for the Mizbeach. Hechmitzloi, again, it would have turned sour for the seller. Concludes the Mishnah. Va'enoi makabel es ma'osav. He doesn't receive his money. Explains the Bartenura, Koloima eino nechshovim ma'osav shel chenvoni. The money cannot be considered his, but lo zocha b'hem, he hasn't actually hasn't acquired that money, even though the gizbar, the treasurer, may have received the item. Ad sheyehei hamizbeach meratzeh. Explains the Bartenura, sheyale l'rotzoin, until the item has gone on to the mizbeach l'rotzoin, in favor to Hashem, al hamizbeach, on the mizbeach. Only at that point is it considered that the money that's transferred from the treasurer to the chenvoni, it belongs then to the chenvoni. Prior to that, the deal is not quite sealed, and therefore, concludes the Bartenura, im hechmitz hayayin or hisliah hasoiles achar yusom al chenvoni. The responsibility falls until they're actually on the mizbeach, offered up. The responsibility until that time falls on the seller to provide the good items.